Jojo starts remembering her childhood days where she was running in the open field crying. Then she reaches her grandmother. Now in the present, Jojo looks ahead and Sunu was there. Then both of them go to Jojo's shop and there was no one there. Now both of them eat noodles and sit together and talk. Sonu says we will stay together on Monday. Just the two of us. Jojo says you are not really going on a school trip. Sunu is like this and says don't even think that you will stay without me for 3 days. Jojo says won't you ask why I am not going. Sonu says you will tell me when you have to. Jojo smiles and says let's go. Sunu says what? Jojo says let's go on a school trip. Sonu says no, you don't need to do this. Jojo says no, nothing will happen to me if I stay with you. And she asks him to ring her love alarm and their love alarm rings. Jojo gets happy and puts her head on his shoulder. Now we see all the kids enjoying themselves in Jeju Island. Jojo is walking holding Sonu's hand. Young is walking alone. He sees Sonu and Jojo walking together. Now for the group photo, the rest of the kids put Duggar next to Gulmi. Gulmi gets very angry. Now all the kids come to the hotel. When Jojo comes to the room, no one talks to her. He was hanging out in the lobby downstairs when Gulmi comes there and says when did I have to talk to you like this? Young starts leaving. Then she says you want to know Jojo's secret and she tells him everything. He asks why did you tell me? Gulmi says because you are Sunu's best friend. Yun says so you want me to tell all this to Sunu? Gulmi says I like Sonu and how can you expect me to keep quiet after knowing what Jojo really is like? Yun says there is nothing wrong in defending oneself. Gulmi says she really gave it to her mom and dad. Yun says they shouldn't have put that girl in such a situation. Jojo didn't do anything wrong. The scene shifts. We see Gulmi and her friends dancing on stage and Hyang sitting behind is just watching Jojo. Doug was taking a video of the people. Then Sun tells Hyang to go outside and they both come out. Then Jojo also comes out and sees them both together. Sonu says this is Hyang. Jojo says yes your friend. Hung says there is no need to introduce. I am leaving. Duggar was watching the dance video. Just then Gulmi comes from behind and takes it and throws it down and says you are very shameless. Duggar says I was not going to give it to anyone. Gulmi says why did you take the alarm? Duggar says I am sorry, I did not want to upset you. Gulmi says you will go like this in front of me forever. Duggar says do you hate me so much? Gulmi says yes you saw during the group photo everyone was laughing at me because you rang my love alarm. You know how I feel. I have started hating love alarms so much now. Why are you even alive? Don't come in front of me again. She starts leaving and sees that it is Joe who gave it to Duggar and he runs away from there. Sari was getting ready in the room when all the boys come there. Ishik turns his face away seeing Yago. Everyone was playing. They say let's turn on the love alarm and everyone shows it to each other. Yago and Ilsik don't turn on the camera. They tell them to turn it on. Then she says that you like Ilsik, right? Ilsik tells everyone to keep quiet and Yago gets up and starts going there. Then she sees that it is Jojo. Jojo follows her. Yago says go away, I don't want to talk to you. Jojo says why didn't you tell Ilsik that you like him? Yago says that you would have let me date him and then you broke up with him and fell in love with someone else. Jojo says how can you even say this? Django says that's why you were kissing some guy in the alley whom you didn't even know. I couldn't believe my eyes. Jojo says then you were the one who took the photo. Yago says yes. Jojo says how can you do this to me? Yago says because I like Ilsik and she goes there in a suit. Everyone was playing in the room and Ilsik fell asleep. So Jojo goes and sits in the adjacent room. After a while she falls asleep. Suddenly the adjacent room catches fire. Everyone starts shouting and runs outside. Jojo remembers her childhood after seeing this. She runs and starts opening the window like she used to do in her childhood. He tells her to come on. What happened here? Jojo says we will die and she starts hitting the window and opens it. Only then she feels better. He hits her from behind and when she turns back, everyone is the same. She runs down to the lobby and starts running outside the hotel. She sees Sunhu in front of her. He asks are you okay? Jojo hugs him while crying. And says I am not okay. This is very difficult for me. I am not able to breathe here. Take me out of here in a suit. As soon as they leave, Young comes there and sees them both going. Sunu was taking Jojo on the bike. Jojo says there is a place where I want to go. Sonu takes her there. Both were sitting looking at the sea. Sonu asks did you come here? Jojo remembers that in her childhood her mom and dad had drowned in this sea. Jojo says yes I used to come here sometimes. Sonu takes her hand and puts it in his pocket, and both of them sit here and it becomes morning. And they were going back. Jojo was enjoying this a lot. Sunu speeds up the bike and Jojo takes him, and she was enjoying a lot, and she says in her mind, "Thank you, Sunu." Suddenly a car comes in front and Sunu loses his balance and both of them fall from the bike. Jojo regains consciousness and starts giving support to Sunu and tries to reach out to him. She starts remembering all the moments and things that she had enjoyed and spent with Suinhu. She remembers how sad she was and how happy she became because of Suinhu's arrival. Suddenly she faints again and has a dream. In her childhood, her mother was buying a lot of such tapes from the shop. Jojo was playing in the house and her mom and dad were putting cello tape all over the house and packing the whole house. Suddenly in the night, Jojo wakes up and starts crying because of the smoke. Her mom and dad had put smoke in the fire. Jojo wakes up her mother while crying and her mother had died. She scolds her a lot and starts accusing her. In the present, both of them were unconscious near the sea. The scene shifts and we see the scene of 4 years later, where Love Alarm had become very popular. Songs and books had also been released about it, and many people were also against it and were protesting. Now we see a wedding scene where Joe fixes the bride's ghana and goes downstairs. Then both of them give the bride to the groom and everyone turns on their love alarms and the bride and groom turn on their love alarms. And both of them also get rings. Everyone gets happy seeing this. Now Joe goes to the place at night where Sunu and she did skating and gets sad seeing this place. Then she comes to the shop. Her aunt says, "Why do you work hard by going to college? Just work. By this you can give me more money and pay off your debt." Joe says, "I am looking for another part-time job," and goes there. Her aunt says, "You still do everything you want to do." Now the next day she was in a shop when she gets a message. There was a lot of money in her bank. She gets happy seeing this. Now the scene does not come where this drama started. Joe's signal was on, then everyone sees the sign of love alarm in the sky. Joe looks ahead and sees Suinhu there. Then everyone starts crossing the road. Everybody crosses the road and gets a message of love alarm. Then Young comes to Suinhu. She remembers that Hung also loved her in school. Joe is ahead of her and she walks out holding each other's arms. Hung looks at her and suddenly gives a hand to Suinhu. When Joe turns around, she sees that she is hugging Suinhu. Seeing this, she goes there. Now, after the accident, during school time, Joe calls Suinhu a lot and also sends him a lot of messages and he does not reply to any of them. Then she asks Hung about this and says that he did not come to school today. Hung asks, "Are you okay?" Joe says yes, and did you meet Suinhu when his parents came to meet him in the hospital? After that Suinhu and I haven't talked. Hang says he has just been discharged. That's why things are difficult. Joe says, "Can you give me his address?" Young says, "Give me yours." Now at night Joe calls Sonu a lot from outside his house, but he doesn't reply. The next day also she messages him and he still doesn't reply. Then she was coming down the phone when she sees Dugu in front of her. Both of them were sitting. Joe says, "I feel like I have been like this myself." Dugu says, "You are regretting calling Suinhu's phone." Joe says, "I am scared. I want Suinhu to just see my good side." Dugu says, "If we start loving someone like this, then it is very difficult to turn back." Joe asks if you still like Gulm. Dugu says, "She is the first person I have loved. Arrow is the only one who loves me so much. I don't want your heart to break like mine," and he leaves there. And then he sends a message to Joe. It was written in it that by clicking this message your crush's love alarm will not ring. Even if your love alarm is on, and he messages her. "I thought you will want this." She was signaling Joe when she gets a message. Sonu's parents are not there. "Can you come now?" She runs and reaches near his house. Hung comes out and asks her to come inside. They were going inside when Sunu's mom's car comes. When the car gets down, her husband says if Sunu stays like this then send him back to the house, and they go there. After they leave, Hung says, "I will ask him to call." Now you go home and Joe comes out there and cries a lot. In the present, Joe turns on the love alarm and remembers Dugu's words. He had said that I don't want your heart to break like mine. Now ads were coming everywhere. Love Alarm 2.0 is about to come. Hung was in the bus. Then the bus stops at the bus stop and he remembers Joe. Then seeing Joe sitting there, Hyang gets shocked and by then the bus leaves. He comes running back to the bus stop. Joe is not there and sits down and starts laughing. Now Joe was sitting at home and she was looking at a side post. On the other side Sunu also looks at the same. Now Sunu comes to a hotel and calls Young and asks why is it so difficult to meet you. Young says, "I am walking outside." He was taking photos of two people. Then that man sees a lot of clothes there. He sees that all have Lovelon and all have 0 written on them. Then that woman looks. There are a lot of dead bodies there. Everyone gets stunned seeing this. Hung also gets shocked seeing this and comes behind. Today it has been a full 534 days since the launch of Love Alarm. In this world we cannot hide our feelings of loneliness, and this is where episode 5 ends. If you liked the video, please like, share and subscribe. See you in episode 6.